Okay, everybody, hello and welcome to the presentation. Thank you so much for being here. So I am Bishop James Long, and I appreciate you guys being here today on a beautiful Friday. I'll tell you what, it is hot out there. My gosh, it is hot. But I'm in Kentucky, and let me tell you something. When it gets hot, it also gets humid. That's like, ugh. But we're inside in the air conditioning, and hopefully wherever you are, you're staying cool. Dublin, all right, Ireland, never been. Beautiful. I have some family history of Ireland. Of course, I think most people do. But okay, a couple of things. I am Bishop James Long here. But first, this is really important. I want you to go to this website, KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com, KGRADB.com. Now, they have some amazing shows there, and this show airs there as well. And but please subscribe. Put Bishop as your promo code. You're going to get 30% off your subscription. I receive no payment, no compensation, financial compensation for telling you this. None at all. Mr. Producer will verify this. I just do it because they pay for the StreamYard. We use the StreamYard for our Bible studies and open mic nights and Fridays. So I just do me a favor. If you enjoy the paranormal like I do, then go to kgradb.com. Okay, and put Bishop as your promo code. It's already very inexpensive, but you're going to get 30% off your subscription. Now, you can go to my website too, bishopjameslong.com. Here's something really cool I want to share with you guys. I want you to also consider clicking on that class link. So I have 4 online classes where you're going to learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. And guess what? It's free. Absolutely free of charge. Now, if you would like, we would certainly appreciate if you would consider donating something to the church. Our abbot Tommy Golden, receives all the funding. And so because we don't receive payment, so we are not compensated as clergy. So some of our clergy needs assistance. And so if you can, please consider donating something to the church and just enjoy the classes. Just enjoy them. They're there for you, for education. And so anyway, if you appreciate that, we appreciate you helping our clergy. So thank you. Also, now, if you want to go to the church's website, usocc.org. That's the church's website. So if you have any questions. Now, next year, we are going to have a retreat. So if you can click on the retreat button and consider donating to Father Sean or Father Mark or both. They are out of state. And they have to fly in, rent a car, and pay for, the expenses of the retreat. So we want them to come to the retreat, but it's going to be pretty expensive for them. So again, if you can, please consider donating to them. That would be wonderful. That way they can enjoy the retreat. Okay. So thank you for that. So again, if you want to take the classes for absolutely free, then you can go to bishopjameslong.com. Click on the class link and scroll down, and then it'll say, if you please consider donating to the church, and that would be wonderful. And then the classes are automatically online, so you learn at your own pace. As a matter of fact, let me go there right now. I'm not very good at being a webmaster, so let me just make sure that we have the right. We do, yeah. So the right donation goes to Father, our abbot Tommy Golden. And he takes care of all the funding for the church. Okay, so thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys doing that, and so does our clergy. We appreciate all of you guys. Well, I tell you what, today is Friday, and I hope whatever you're going to be doing, you're going to have a great weekend. It's going to be fun. So let's just do this. All the stress and all the worrying and all the anxiety, let's just throw that at the door. And just sit back, relax, forget all the worries, because we're going to talk about the zombie apocalypse. So I don't think we need to. So the gifts are turned off, folks. I look. What I would rather you do. I do appreciate TikTok. I do, but understand TikTok takes 70% of all the gifts. So if you give $10 to me, TikTok is going to take $7 of that. So right now, what we need more than anything in the world, we need to help Father Sean and Father Mark get to the retreat. Father Mark, so far, I understand we've raised $100, and it's going to be closer to $1,000 for the flight and the car rental. Probably more than that. So anyway, we appreciate you guys. I'd rather please consider doing that. Okay. But make sure you keep liking this video, like, and share that. That way it gets into the algorithm and people can come on over and watch it. We definitely want to share, and we definitely want to like. So just keep on like, keep on doing whatever you got to do. We appreciate that. All right. All right. Now next week I had just a conversation. This is how I'm telling you guys. My brain is very scattered lately, but I just had a conversation with Mr. Producer, and he said, "Well, we're just going to play a repeat next week, a repeat show." I'm like, "Well, no, what are you talking about? I'm going to be live." And he said, "No, it's a holiday." I said, What? It's 4th of July. I didn't even. My brain is so scattered right now. So I 4th of July is on Thursday, I believe, but it's a lot of people celebrate that on Friday. So next Friday, I'm going to be here. We will be live, and we'll have a good, fun-filled, exciting show. I am working on some shows about alien abductions and trying to get some guests. So I'm working on that. I still want to get a guest on who thinks that they are a vampire. I truly want to find somebody who, I can find somebody who thinks they're a psychic vampire. That's not difficult to do. But I would just like to find someone who legit thinks that they are a vampire. That would be an interesting show. I think that would be interesting. So, okay. July 1st is Canada. Okay. Great. Oh, thank you, Judy. And I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, I met Michelle several times, and perhaps maybe Michelle be willing to jump on, but that's the problem. I would really like to find somebody who truly does live that lifestyle 24/7. That would be pretty cool. Yeah, there are. I tell you what, if Skip to Grace, if you could do me a favor, if you know somebody, just send them to me on my Facebook, and I'll check them out. And there we go. Okay, so let me answer this question. The question is you mainly an exorcist? No. I am not an exorcist who happens to be a priest. Yeah, I'll do that in just 1 second. I am not an exorcist who happens to be a priest. I am a priest whose ministry happens to be, a part of my ministry is deliverance ministry. But I am a priest first. So people have to please understand the difference. And I always tell the clergy that the same thing. Those who have a calling to serve as an exorcist for the church, I am not an exorcist who happens to be a priest. Priesthood first. So, and then one of my ministries is, of course, deliverance ministry. So for those of you who are on TikTok, I'm going to put subscriber chat only on, and then I'll turn it off at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll open it up for everybody. How's that? And the reason we do that is because our moderators would like to enjoy the show. And so, so unfortunately, we get a lot of, well, you guys know, a lot of trolls. Okay. But we'll open it up. A militant priest? No, I'm not a militant priest. No, what is a militant priest? I don't even know what that would be. It's interesting. I've never even heard the term militant priest. I must be living in a rock. Let's see, militant priest. I have to look that up. I don't know what that means. That's a new one for me. That's a new one. Okay. So again, sub chat is only for TikTok, and then at 8 p.m. we'll open it up to everybody. So let's talk about the topic of the day. Zombie apocalypse. Is this just nonsense? Or is this something that has some legitimacy to it? Well, let's orthodox. I see. I think for me, as far as my priesthood, as far as I would say I am a bit more on the conservative side when it comes to liturgy, only because I think that we have watered down liturgy so much that it's become entertainment hour. So for me, I love the smells and bells. We call that in the seminary when I was studying for the Roman Catholic priesthood. I loved all the smells and bells, the organ, the incense, the bells. I just, to me, that's very, very powerful. So, but tonight we're going to talk about the zombie apocalypse. Is it something that we really should even consider? Or is this something that is just pure sci-fi and it's just ridiculous and it just sells movies or television shows or books or any of that stuff? Well, you might be a little surprised after this conversation. So the concept of a zombie apocalypse has captured the imagination of people worldwide, as evidenced by the popularity of zombie-themed movies and TV shows and literature. Now, while largely considered a work of fiction and entertainment, this presentation, hopefully, we're going to be able to delve into the question of whether a zombie apocalypse is even plausible within the realm of scientific, possibility, or again, is this just nonsense? A zombie apocalypse is generally defined as a widespread outbreak of reanimated corpses or infected individuals that threaten human survival. Okay, and that notion has gained traction through folklore and ancient myths, modern pop culture, depicting scenarios where humanity faces hordes of mindless, flesh-eating, undead beings. Do I believe that we could ever have in a zombie apocalypse where it's a reanimation of those who have already passed on? No, I think that's utterly just ridiculous. That, to me, I don't even think that's plausible at all. That I think anyone with half a brain would say no. However, that doesn't mean that one could still get infected with some type of disease, and then things could really, really go awry. So let's talk about now the fictional portrayal examining the feasibility of a zombie apocalypse involves exploring potential origins, transmission mechanisms, and even societal responses. So hopefully we're going to be drawing upon scientific knowledge, infectious disease research, and even societal analysis. And when we look at the origins and the natures of zombies and possible modes of transmission and the human response to such a threat, I think a more informed assessment can be made regarding the plausibility of this occurring one day. Now, the primary objective here is, for this presentation, is to examine the scientific aspects. It's also important to acknowledge that I think the cultural influence and creative licensing that happens, the shaping of the zombies and the zombie apocalypse. But understanding the potential scenarios and implications of a zombie outbreak can offer insight into really real-world threats. And are we prepared for something like this to happen? And it is crucial, I think, to approach this subject with a scientific lens, if we can. Given the speculative nature of a zombie apocalypse, it's important to strike a balance between scientific plausibility and science fiction. Okay, so let's talk about this. I'm curious if we can do a poll on TikTok. And for those of you who are just brand new on TikTok, a lot of people on TikTok, I kind of flip through the channel sometimes and I'll see them and they're watching a television and they're doing it live. And sometimes they'll look at the chat. Yeah. And they'll go back watching a television. And I'm thinking, well, that's no fun. And then people are watching. I'm like, what are you watching? You're watching this person watching television. That's not how I do my shows. I like to present a topic, teach on that topic, have a conversation, and then we can move on to demonology and the paranormal and your other questions, and a lot of articles that I found that's really interesting, by the way. So I'm curious if we can do a poll on TikTok. How many of you believe that a zombie apocalypse, not the reanimation of corpses, but a zombie apocalypse where some type of infection is transmitted and that turns individuals into what we would identify or believe as a zombie? So I'm curious. Let's do a poll on TikTok and anybody else. Do you think that it is possible that we could have some form of infectious disease that could turn someone into what we identify as a zombie? Now, forget the reanimation of the dead. I'm not talking about that. But I would be very curious to see what you guys think. So Joanne says yes. Well. So far. Okay, we have 66 said no, and 33% said. Well, let's keep that poll open for a little bit longer, because we only have 6 votes. So if we can do another poll on TikTok, let's open that poll for just a little longer, maybe a minute. Now, again, I'm not talking about reanimation of the dead. So forget that. I'm talking about an actual infectious disease that could attack the brain, that could cause someone to behave erratically, or as we would think, as a zombie. Okay, so Judy Ann says yes. So we'll see what the poll says in just a second. Sue says yes. Okay. The concept of zombies has ancient roots, by the way, in various cultures. These early depictions of zombie often attributed their existence of spiritual or likely supernatural forces. However, the modern zombie, as portrayed in popular culture, has evolved and taken on distinct characteristics. Thank you for subscribing. In fictional portrayals, zombies are typically depicted as reanimated corpses or infected individuals that exhibit sluggish movement, lack of intelligence, insatiable craving for humans. And okay, so 56 says yes and 17 says no. Okay, so that's very, very interesting. So on TikTok, now the majority says yep. So in fictional portrayals, we talked about, they're sluggish, they're not very bright. It's essential, I think, to differentiate between pop culture zombies and historical zombies. So while present-day zombies may be the result of viral outbreaks or other scientific explanations, historical zombies were often associated with spiritual or cultural beliefs, believe it or not, such as voodoo and even witchcraft. And from a scientific, I don't know why people text me in the middle of the show. I've only been doing the show for 20 years. Anyway, so from a scientific standpoint, the existence of reanimated corpses, as commonly depicted in popular culture, it's highly unlikely. That's not going to happen. The decomposition process and irreversible biological changes that occur after someone passes makes the idea of animation, functioning corpses, it's not going to happen. So that, I'm going to throw that one out. It's gone. That's not even possible. Yet, some theories have attempted to provide scientific explanation for zombie-like phenomenon. And these theories typically involve hypothetical scenarios involving infectious diseases that will affect the human brain. And I'm going to talk about a couple cases where something is wrong, and they're quite frightening. And they propose that the reanimation of corpses or changes in human behavior similar to that of a zombie could potentially be caused by a highly contagious pathogen. However, I think it's important to note that no known infectious disease in real life can replicate the characteristics observed in fictional zombies. At least the ones we just simply don't know. At least the infectious diseases we know of now does not demonstrate that can occur. Viruses and parasites that affect the brain, such as rabies or prion diseases, can lead to altered behavior, but they do not result in reanimation or loss of rational thinking like you see in fictional zombies. So while the concept of zombies is deeply rooted in human imagination and cultural beliefs, the popular understanding of zombies as mindless, flesh-eating creatures is mainly confined. It's a work of fiction. Scientifically speaking, the reanimation of corpses or the existence of human beings with zombie-like characteristics is highly unlikely, and it's just not going to happen. So let's talk about some theories as far as how some people believe this could happen. I am firmly in the camp that reanimation of corpses cannot happen. No, I absolutely do not. I don't buy that at all. But considering the plausibility of a zombie apocalypse scenario, one of the key aspects to explore the potential mechanisms of transmission. And in most zombie narratives, transmission occurs through direct contact between infected individuals and healthy individuals, leading to a rapid spread. And while the exact mechanisms may vary, several theories have been proposed to explain how this could occur, which is kind of scary. So first, viral infections and mutation. One theory says that a viral infection could actually cause a zombie-like state of mental being by attacking and altering the human brain. The virus might have the ability to allegedly reanimate dead tissue and generate aggressive tendencies. And transmission could occur through bodily fluids, bites, scratches of infected individuals. And then, of course, then the virus would spread. There's also parasitic manipulation of host. Another theory suggests that parasites, such as fungi or bacteria, could be responsible for zombification. And we actually see that. Here's what's even really frightening about this. We actually see this in nature. This does happen in nature. That is frightening. And certain parasites have known abilities to manipulate the behavior of their host, altering their cognition and inducing abnormal or aggressive behavior. And if a parasite were to infect humans and exert control over our actions, it could potentially lead to a zombie-like state. There is also neurological disorders and psychological factors. There are some theories out there that propose that neurological disorders or psychological factors could contribute to zombie-like behavior, conditions that affect the brain. There are specific neurodegenerative diseases, for example, may result in altered cognition, loss of rational thinking, aggressive behavior. And in a hypothetical scenario, the prevalence of such disorders could rise rapidly. And I think we have to, again, these are theories, and that's fine. Let's talk about some factors influence like rapid spread. So in the hypothetical scenario of a zombie apocalypse, let's say it's some type of mutation, a fungi, a parasite. Several factors could contribute to the rapid and widespread transmission of the zombifying condition, if you will. And understanding these factors, it's going to provide insights into the plausibility and the severity of the outbreak. So here are some things to think about. Population density in urban centers. High population density, particularly in urban areas, can facilitate the rapid transmission of any infectious disease, including a hypothetical zombie virus. We are growing so much. There's so many people, and especially in the bigger cities. My gosh, it's sometimes shoulder to shoulder if you go in some places. Airborne versus vector-borne transmission. What does that mean? The mode of transmission can significantly impact the speed of zombie-like epidemic. So like airborne transmission, if that's possible, would allow the zombifying pathogen to spread more rapidly and quickly, like coughing, sneezing. Vector-borne transmission utilizing insects and other carriers could also contribute to this rapid spread. There's a new virus out now, believe it or not. I forgot. Well, let me see. Let's see. New virus. There is, I forgot what it's called. Monkeypox. There's a lot of people talking about monkeypox coming on now and some other issues. Bird flu, that's now coming on. These are crazy. Now, also transmission, let's talk about transmission dynamics in different environments. So, for example, the characteristics of the environment can influence the transmission dynamics of a zombie-like epidemic. Like, for example, in rural areas with significant distances between dwellings, the spread might be slower compared to a densely populated urban area. That makes sense. However, if the zombifying condition has the ability to survive for extended periods outside the host or infected various animal species, then transmission in rural areas could still occur. So in other words, if this virus could still exist outside of the host, perhaps transmitted by birds or wasps or mosquitoes, I think the lack of an effective quarantine and control measures can contribute to the rapid spread as well. And we saw that. We saw that in when we had our last episode. which you can't even mention because if you do, you get banned on TikTok. There's also limited medical resources. So in a zombie apocalypse scenario, overwhelmed medical resources and infrastructure would exacerbate the spread of this condition. And there would be a lot of panic and fear. Think about this hypothetically, just hypothetical situation. The news comes on and says there's a new virus. It is airborne. It's transmitted through mosquitoes or whatever it might be. And this parasite causes the severe degeneration of the brain to the point of the frontal lobe, or the part of the brain, obviously, that has thinking and reasoning and rationing, empathy is gone. I mean, this would be the social order would be chaos. So the psychological, societal impact of a zombie-like epidemic, I don't think it should be underestimated. And panic, fear, the breakdown of social order can contribute to the rapid spread. Now, again, these theories are based on hypothetical circumstances, but here's what I don't like. And this is not a political statement. Well, thank you there, Alan. This is not a political argument or anything of this nature. I think we're playing around too much with viruses that have been dormant for millions of years. Thank you there, Master Matt. For millions of years, and we're bringing them into labs, and we are reanimating, if you will. We are bringing these viruses back to life. Folks, I'm telling you, that's a problem. I am really seriously troubled by all these, what we're doing, what we're creating in labs. It's a problem. Now, population density, mode of transmission, environment, quarantine measures, medical resources, societal factors, they can all influence the theoretical spread of a zombie-like epidemic. And keep in mind, and no country is innocent of this. There are countries out there, the military are playing, I firmly believe they are playing with viruses, manipulating viruses, moving things around, testing this and testing that. This is serious stuff. We better leave this alone. So how do you think a human responds? Well, how would we respond? Well, in a hypothetical scenario of a zombie apocalypse, how we respond, it plays a crucial role in determining the outcome of this event, of the ability to effectively detect, respond, and mitigate the threat. It'll greatly influence the chances of survival. So obviously, government and military preparedness is crucial. One of the primary pillars of response to a zombie threat would be the government and military preparedness. That, of course, includes early detection, emergency response plans, the mobilization of resources to contain the outbreak. That's the problem. And how would you be able to contain the outbreak if it's done by mosquitoes or even birds? The public health infrastructure and disease control. I mean, a well-functioning public health infrastructure is paramount. And the ability to quickly identify, diagnose, and isolate infected individuals is crucial. And adequate medical facilities equipped with proper supplies, protective gear, trained personnel, and also the societal response can greatly, significantly impact the overall outcome. So if panic and fear and breakdown, that could just exacerbate the problem. So as the outbreak unfolds, individuals and communities will need to adapt to employ survival strategies. And there's also ethical challenges when you're dealing with the possibility, and even decision-making when you're dealing with a zombie apocalypse, if you see. A zombie apocalypse scenario would present a significant ethical challenge. Difficult challenges would need to be made regarding resource allocation, triage, and the healthcare services. And again, that would be a tough call. What do you do with the infected? And drawing lessons from past outbreaks like epidemics and crisis can inform a more effective response to a hypothetical zombie threat. I think it's important that the human response to a zombie threat would be complex. It would be multidimensional, influenced by like various factors, including the specific characteristics of a zombie-like condition. So an effective response to zombie-like scenarios would involve well-coordinated government and military preparedness, a functioning public health infrastructure, and others, and helping one another. So in the face of a hypothetical zombie apocalypse, advances in science and technology could significantly impact our ability to respond and even survive it. And so here's some scientific and technological countermeasures that we could use here. Medical and biochemical research, rapid research focused on understanding the cause, the reason the agent of the zombie condition would be a high priority. Vaccines. I mean, based on the nature of zombifying pathogens, efforts would be directed towards the development of a vaccine. And quite honestly, a lot of people are not very gung-ho about vaccines at all. The use of drones. Drones and robotics could be used for various purposes, like surveillance, delivery of supplies to infected zones. Artificial intelligence could certainly help, but I'm concerned with artificial intelligence. I think we could easily find ourselves in some trouble with AI. So I think we have to put a tight chain, if you will, around artificial intelligence. I'm not a big. I think it can be beneficial, but I also think it can be problematic. And then, of course, the communications and information dissemination. So we have to. How are we going to say, okay, this is what you have to do? We have to get this information out to people. Now, if this were to occur, we would have to collaborate. There would have to be solid leadership. And that would be a very important. We'd have to have construction of safe zones. Structurally secure and self-sustainable safe zones and fortresses could serve as a defensive measure. Resource management would be important. Communication, information exchange, enhancing skills, and how do you adapt? All these things are important. Now, while the concept of a zombie apocalypse, as seen in popular media, it's fictional, there are historical instances and scenarios that somewhat resemble aspects of such an event. And these don't involve literal armies of the living dead, of course, but many do involve widespread diseases, societal breakdown, and fear-based hysteria. And the scenarios I'm going to talk about, I believe, truly can help us understand how societies might respond to a large-scale crisis. If you remember, in 1347 through 1351, that was the Black Death. Likely the most devastating pandemic in human history. The Black Death resulted in the deaths of an estimated 75 to 200 million people. And that was a true societal collapse scenario, with people living in fear as they watched their neighbors perish, not understanding the cause or how to stop it. Yep, fleas on rats. In 1918, remember the Spanish flu. Devastating. But it was not, by the way, it's not as high as far as the mortality rate as the Black Death, but the Spanish flu, the pandemic, tens of millions perished because of that. And despite the advances in medicine at that time, the rapid spread, high infection rate, deadly nature of the disease created a widespread panic. Also, this is, folks, if you've never heard about this, do yourself a favor and do some research. The dancing plague of 1518 is truly one of the most bizarre events in human history. It is. When I read it, I thought, what in the world is going on here? The dancing plague, like dance, you're dancing. In 1518, this is what happened. One of history's most truly bizarre events. The dancing plague was several 100 people in France danced uncontrollably for days. They couldn't stop. They could not stop. Some people even literally danced themselves to death. This resembles some way the hysteria often depicted during zombie outbreaks in popular media. So they still don't understand what happened there. Rabies in humans. So it's not a large-scale event. Human cases of rabies somewhat mirror the zombie phenomenon. The virus transmitted through bites causes victims to become aggressive, experience delirium, hallucinations, and even a display of fear of water. It's often fatal once symptoms appear. There's also, I don't know if you've heard of this, the zombie drug scare. The zombie drug scare, literally. In recent years, certain mind-altering substances, such as like synthetic, like bath salts, have been dubbed zombie drugs in the media due to their reported ability to induce aggressive zombie-like behavior. Now, none of those scenarios that I mentioned is perfectly, I think aligned with a zombie outbreak, but I think they provide real-life examples of some aspects we might see in a hypothetical situation. So, and consequently, they can provide valuable lessons. But the dancing plague, if you will, in 1518, truly is so bizarre, so bizarre. And while these historical, instances that I provided, it certainly they have some similar elements to a hypothetical zombie apocalypse. I think it's important to make a clear distinction between real-world scenarios and those that we see in popular media. So, like, zombies are products of fiction. And it's crucial to remember that the notions of zombies, reanimated corpses with a taste of human flesh, is purely a work of fiction. To a point. Zombie narratives also, they often involve a rapid global spread of infection that wipes out most of civilization. And media often depicts the elimination of zombies requiring destroying the brain, a concept with no grounding in actual medicine or science. So there's this also the lone survivor myth. So zombie media often glorifies the lone wolf surviving against the odds. Realistically, look, survival in catastrophic scenarios would rely heavily on cooperation, communal events, not lone survivalism. I mean, we would all have to come together and work together. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I want to talk a little bit about some cases that you may not know that actually happen where it certainly does appear to be somewhat of a zombie event. And I don't know. I'd like to know what you guys think about this. This is from Christopher Schultz. Now, again, this is going to, I'm going to try to, I'm not going to use all the words that's in this article because it's pretty aggressive. So I will try to filter as much as I can. So it says here, a Florida college student attacks a stranger and consumes the face. And again, this is by the true story, Christopher Schultz. This is the author. So let me tell you what happened if you guys have not heard about this. Really strange. Florida was already on the cannibalistic, possibly zombie-related attack map with the infamous Miami case, which we'll talk about. But that was apparently not enough for the Sunshine State, the author says. In August of 2016, a 19-year-old college student, Austin Harrouf, Harrouf, reportedly stormed away from a restaurant in Jupiter, Florida, where he'd been dining with his parents, apparently upset over the slow service there. He then wandered into a neighborhood where a couple, Michelle Michon and John Stevens III, sat in their garage with the door open, enjoying a quiet evening. And Harrouf pulled a switchblade on the couple and unfortunately unalived them without any provocation. And a neighbor attempted to intervene and called 911, but was unfortunately attacked by the man as well. When police arrived, they found Harrouf completely nude, ripping away obviously the flesh and consuming. He was also growling, grunting, making animal noises. Repeated use of stun guns and police dog could not sway Harif away from this attack. And finally, 3 officers had to pull the man away from the bodies by force. Now, listen to this. What makes this case especially uncomfortable, prior to this bizarre crime, he was a model student who seemed to have things pretty well figured out. It's also reported that he had been hanging out with some of his fraternity brothers prior to joining his parents for dinner. But his toxicology report came back clean. There were no bath salts in his stream, in his bloodstream. There was no illegal substance at all. Nothing. Now, this is a person who, by all purposes, you would think that he's living a perfect life. Everything is fine. He never had problems. Was never did anything illegal. He was a straight and narrow kind of a person. Something happened to where he left, and he ultimately really became a zombie. He had his toxicology report, I'm going to say it one more, his toxicology report came back clean. Now, though officials did say Harif showed no other characteristic symptoms associated with substance, like flakka or bath salts. And police are baffled. Even to this day, they're baffled with this behavior. So what exactly happened to this individual to prompt such a gruesome crime? We don't know. There's also the infamous, terrible Miami cannibal attack. So the story, if you remember, it was huge. It was big news in May of 2012, especially given the eerie footage of the incident that made the rounds on the internet. So Miami resident Rudy Eugene stripped naked and attacked a homeless man named Ronald Popo, consuming 80% of the man's face. And when police arrived at the scene, they were forced to open fire. He took far more bullets than his body should have been able to withstand, the police said. Now, by the way, it was originally theorized by many people online and certainly the media. They immediately said, well, Eugene had no question ingested bath salts, and perhaps even PCP. Toxicology reports came back and revealed only a small trace amount of marijuana. That's it. And there was no other, it was marijuana. So there was no other illegal substance in it was marijuana. So there were no bath salts. There was nothing else, PCP. There's nothing else mixed in with the marijuana. It was marijuana. And that's trace. Could it be possession? Certainly could. But when you have cases like this, you do have to scratch your head and say, now, what is going on here? And these people are having a completely clean toxicology report. Listen, this is crazy. A 2-year-old, imagine this. A 2-year-old sits up in a coffin, asks for water, and then passes away again. So Kevin Santos, you can Google this, Kevin Santos was pronounced deceased at a hospital in his hometown of Belém in Brazil. The 2-year-old was placed in an airtight body bag for 3 hours while his family made preparations for his funeral. 3 hours, airtight body bag. But during the wake, family members noticed the boy began to move. And Santos then sat up, asked his father for a glass of water, And then the ecstatic family was then let down, however, when only seconds later, the boy fell over again. He was rushed to a hospital and declared deceased for a second time. I can't explain that. 3 hours. 3 hours, by the way, in an airtight body bag. 3 hours. So there's no oxygen. So how you can be in an airtight body bag for 3 hours and yet come back alive? I can't explain that. Listen to this one. Then this is kind of creepy. A woman returns from the grave in a catatonic state. That is, I don't understand. That's crazy. That's yeah, Bob Smith, be kind, or we're gonna have to, enough of that. So yeah, Bob Smith, I don't want to have to block you, but I will. So just don't come in here and troll. Yeah, normally. Oh, okay. All right, Bob. Goodbye. I'm not going to put up with that. Okay. Folks, I can't bring you on because I have other shows. I have other computers running the show at the same time. They won't be able to hear or see you. So, yep, Bob Smith is banned. See you, Bob. A troll. They have trolls have to troll because they're little babies and they need attention. I guess they need bottles and get attention. A woman returns from the grave in a catatonic state. Your life contains themes that some may find uncomfortable and has been restricted. Really? This is ridiculous. Okay, so I'm going to have to stop, and I'll have to come back on because a troll decided to. They always got to ruin things, don't they? They always have to ruin things. Just leave people alone. We're not bothering you. Leave people alone. So I'm going to stop it and come back. Yeah, unfortunately, when you do this, you have to come back, stop it, and come back. So somebody, a troll, reported. They're just disgusting people. They really are. They're disgusting people. So now I have to stop, go back, and restart it all over again. Dumb. I wish they get a life. I do. I wish these trolls truly, they are so pathetic. They are cowards. They are just the lowest scum of the earth. They have keyboard courage, and they just want to ruin it for everybody because their life sucks so much that they have to make everybody else's life suck. And that's just the bottom line. These trolls are pathetic. They have no life whatsoever. And it really is disgusting. And what irritates me is that, the keyboard, and I wouldn't even call them keyboard warriors. They're keyboard, punks. They're keyboard. I wouldn't even call them a warrior. They're keyboard cowards is what they are, because they just are. They're just cowards. So, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying on YouTube. I have to fix it on TikTok because someone reported me. Oh, it's just one of those things. You know what I mean? So you have to stop it and come back, and that's what we're doing. So, okay. As a matter of fact, if it gets crazy, I'll just do sub live only. So the only people can watch it are subscribers on TikTok. So yeah. Oh yeah, you guys are good. I just have to stop and deal with this nonsense. So anyway, so a woman returns from the grave in a catatonic state. That's crazy. In 1996 and 1997, listen to this. This case was observed by researchers in Haiti. So this individual was around 30 years old when she passed after a short febrile illness and was buried by her family the same day in the family tomb next to her house. 3 years later, she was recognized by a friend wandering near the village. And her mom actually confirmed her identity by a facial mark that, as did her 7-year-old daughter, her siblings, other villagers, her husband, the local priest. She appeared mute, unable to feed herself. And her parents accused her husband of what they call zombifying her. He was jealous of her after she had basically had an affair. And after a local court authorized the opening of her tomb, which was full of stones. Her parents were undecided whether to take her home, and she was admitted to the psychiatric hospital. Isn't that crazy? And was later determined that the woman likely suffered from catatonic schizophrenia. However, just how she managed to emerge from her tomb and wander around, that's the problem. We just simply don't know. Yeah. Welcome back there, TikTok. What I might do is just do a sub live only. So the only people that can watch it is subscribers. So I might even do that. So I don't care. I mean, I will make it only to where if you're not a subscriber, you're not even going to be able to watch it, because we just have to deal with this nonsense of trolls, and it gets annoying. Okay, and if I will, then I'll stop it and I'll do some sub live only, and the only people that can watch it are subscribers. Don't care. Okay, because it's just nonsense. You have to deal with this. Crocodile. Folks, this is a serious issue. Yeah, I agree with you, Judy Ann. We're going to see how things go, and if it is, I'll turn it on. The only people that can watch it are subscribers. Right. Crocodile turns users into zombie-like beings. And if you have not seen this, if you go on YouTube, it is terrible. It is terrible. It starts with a K, crocodile. It's an unfortunate, it's an illegal drug that rose with prominence in poor areas of Russia because of its potent opioid effects combined with affordable and easy methods, which is produced. And there have been reports of the drug now in the United States. And if you go on YouTube and you check that out, I'm telling you, it is just really disturbing what it does. And so there we go. We'll talk about that later. Right now, I'm talking about zombies. Zombie ants. Now, zombie ants is pretty interesting. That does occur, which is kind of creepy. There are zombie ants out there in nature afflicted by parasitic fungus that biologically manipulates the insects into doing their bidding. And there's a fungi, and it's also called a zombie ant fungi. So if you have not ever heard that, you can Google that, zombie ant fungi. It needs ants to complete their life cycle. When an ant comes across this fungal spore while foraging for food, the fungus quickly spreads throughout its body. And the fungal cells in the ant's head releases chemicals that basically hijack the insect's central nervous system. And the fungus forces the ant to climb up a vegetation and clamp down onto a leaf or a twig. And it doesn't release it. It doesn't release the clamp. It stays permanently. And it then grows a spore-releasing stalk out of the back of the victim's head to infect more ants on the grounds below. Yeah, if you've not done a search on that, it's kind of creepy. It's called the zombie ant fungi. True story. And I'm telling you, I saw that on the Discovery Channel. I think it was on the Discovery Channel. I thought, my gosh, this is nuts. Here's something in nature. Let's talk a little bit about nature, and then we're going to open it up for questions and see how, let's see what the trolls decide to do. Anyway, Scott Dutfield wrote this. Yep, History Channel. Scott Dutfield is the author of this one. Zombie movies, he says, have got it all wrong. Zombifying viruses are unlikely to give deceased people the brain munchies, but real-life parasites have the power to take over brains and make real zombies. So here's a couple of them. Parasites put pill bugs in a deliberate danger. So the roly-poly bugs, potato bugs, or they're called pill bugs. They're cute, innocuous little members of the insect world. As long as they haven't been taken over by this particular parasite. Now, according to the University of Michigan Animal Diversity Web, The parasite lives in the intestinal tracts of starlings. And then it gets released from their body naturally and eaten by a hungry pill bug. And once inside the body of this little roly-poly pill bug, the parasites take over its brain and urges the zombified bug to do ill-advised things, such as making its whereabouts widely known to predators like starlings. And thus the parasite completes its journey when a starling swoops in, eats the bug, and then the parasite waits for its chance to find another bug upon which to practice mind control. That is insanity. Isn't that crazy? If you think about that. So, I mean, obviously the pill bug, these roly little poly dog, these bugs, they don't want to be eaten by starlings. So it's natural for them to hide from birds. But what this virus does, this fungal virus, it actually consumes, and then it forces this roly-poly bug to purposely come out and say, hey, starling, here I am, right here, come on over. It's supper time. That is insane. There's another one called the kidnapped cockroaches carry the larvae of wasp. It's straight out of Hollywood. A quick stab to the brain turns an innocent onlooker into the victim of a brutal assault and kidnapping, except this time the defenseless victim is one of the world's most hated insects, the cockroach. And the villain is a wasp. It's a true story. The venom of the emerald cockroach, the wasp, renders the cockroach unable to move, though it is not paralyzed. Now, according to research published in 2010 in the journal PLOS ONE, once the cockroach is immobilized, the wasp implants its abdomen with a single egg and drags it into the wasp lair. The larva later hatches and consumes the still living but zombie-like cockroach from the inside out. Ugh. A month later, the mature wasp flies away from the scene of the crime, leaving only a rotting cockroach behind. That, folks, that right there, this is truly, and what's frightening to me is that science knows this. And can we replicate this in the lab? If we can replicate these viruses, these fungi in the lab, that's where it gets dangerous. There's also ant zombies. I tell you, these are really crazy. There's a pathogen fungi that preys on carpenter ants. It snatches their body for their own gain. So this fungus infects the ants and then uses chemical signals to direct the hapless insect on a very strange path. So the zombified ant leaves its colony, that's safety, and begins to climb up a nearby tree, taking a jaw grip on the underside of a leaf where it stays. And a 2019 study published in journal Behavioral Ecology suggests that the fungus targets a certain pathways in the brain, which makes the infected zombie ant climb toward the light. The ant eventually dies as the fungus spreads around the ant's body, and the fungus produces a stalk from the dead zombie's head, from which spores are released, intended on infecting more ants in the colony. You know what? That's creepy. But if you think about this, if something like this happens in nature, which it does, then that's the issue. Then we can, certainly, recreate this in labs and perhaps even use that for weapons, which is dangerous, which is very dangerous. Okay. Yep, it's true. Now listen to this. You think that's crazy? Let's get even crazier. One of the best ways for a parasite to spread is to be consumed by its host's natural predators. So this particular fungus can change the behavior of its host. In some species, this fungi will cause a zombie host to walk straight into a predator's mouth. A 2013 study published in the journal PLOS 1 found that mice infected with T. gundi, it's a virus, it's a fungus, showed high levels of testosterone in their systems, making them less afraid of cats. And another study in Plus One suggested infected rats feel a type of attraction to the smell of even cat urine, making them more likely to live near their feline foes. So what happens is it produces this no fear when confronted with the urine of even of leopards or anything, and they go towards their natural predators, and they get consumed. Rodents, by the way, are not alone. According to a study published in Current Biology, infected chimpanzees have been noticed and have been filmed showing no fear when confronted with the urine of leopards. And actually, the chimpanzees track down a leopard because whatever it is in their brain, they want to find this creature. And of course, the leopard is a natural enemy of a chimpanzee. That is crazy. That is insane. Things. Science is interesting. This is very interesting. But when you think about nature, I tell you, nature is creepy. Nature is creepy. So if you have these diseases in the natural world, which we do, and then you have these animals like a chimpanzee that is so drawn towards a leopard that it cannot turn away. And then it shows up and it shows no fear of the leopard. And the leopard says, "Oh, good, supper time." Now, see, that is what I believe could happen, is when we're able to take these viruses, these terrible fungus, these horrible diseases, and we are able to replicate them in the labs and use them for weaponry. That's pretty scary. That is pretty scary stuff. I think that can certainly happen. But there are those cases where we cannot explain it. We cannot explain how these zombie cases, where the Miami case, where that individual just attacked that homeless man, and even the Florida college student, all of us just completely had a complete and total change and did terrible things. People who have had no medical explanation, there is no medical explanation, so we don't know. I think that's what makes me kind of scratch my head and wonder, what's going on out there. How can we have a college student, a Florida college student, no breaking the laws, on the straight and narrow, no illegal, drugs or anything in the body, in the system? How do you go from having dinner with your family to then going and running down the street, ripping off your clothes, attacking people, and doing terrible things, and grunting and snarling and growling at the police, and when there's nothing in your system? I don't know. But there have been several cases where that has happened before. Thankfully, those cases seem to be rare, which is a good thing. Those are rare, because if we start seeing more and more of that happening, that could be a problem. So, okay, well, we're going to turn on, we'll see how things go. And if it gets rude or disrespectful on TikTok, I'm just going to do if it gets rude or disrespectful, what I'll do on TikTok is I'll turn it off completely, and I'll do a sub live only, to where the only people that can watch it are subscribers. Simple, easy fix. I don't like to do that, but unfortunately, the trolls just they've made it miserable for everybody. Okay. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to entertain some of them, but I do have a lot of articles that I want to present to you guys as well. And yeah, that's right. It costs nothing to be kind. It's real simple. And see, that's the thing. When I do a presentation, I put a lot of work in these presentations. There's a lot of people that just go on TikTok. I've seen it. Just they're watching movies. There's no there's nothing. There's no engaging. There's no teaching. There's nothing. And people are just sitting there watching a person watch a movie. Like, what the hell? Are we that bored? Like, okay, I don't get that, but you have definitely different personalities, Chris. Yeah, yeah, no question about that. Yeah. So, what do you want to know about Deuteronomy? Are you talking about? Obviously, you're talking about contacting the dead. Is that what you're referring to? Especially with the with my uh, thing that I have on YouTube. I assume that's what this is about. By the way, you can watch that if you're wanting to know. I have on my YouTube channel. I finally have the Gates of Hell. The Gates of Hell is out there. Documentaries out there, so you can go to YouTube and watch it. And of course, it's free. And so people say that's stupid. You should charge. Nope, it's free. Just go. So yeah, Deuteronomy 18 verses 10 through 12. There shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or daughters as an offering. Anyone who practices divination, who tells fortune or interpret omens, sorcerers, charmers, mediums, etc. So I've already talked about this many, many times again. Okay, there's a lot of people asking questions, so I'm one person with 1, 2, 3, 4 chat rooms open. So just remember, I can only answer one question at a time. I'm only one person. First of all, you have to understand that when you're talking about, you have to look at the scripture. You can't take it out of context. So there shall not be among you or found among you who burns his son or daughter as an offering. Would you have any idea what that is? So there, at this time, people were worshiping a certain deity, a demonic, and they would actually offer their sons and daughters as a burnt offering. And that's a demonic. That's evil. And the whole point of this entire conversation has nothing to do with our concept of what a paranormal investigator is today. Nothing. This is about people who was committing blatant fraud. And what happened is you would have, again, I've explained this so many times, but what would happen is someone passes away. A loved one passes away. You are required to give a certain amount of shekels for each god. So you go to an intercessor. It's somebody who's going to intercede on the behalf of your loved one who passed away. So you have to give each god, a deity, 10 shekels. And maybe there's 15 deities. So you go to that person and say, okay, I'm going to give you 15 shekels for each of these gods to appease them so that they don't raise my loved one from the dead and punish them for eternity. So you go to the person, here's 15 shekels, 10 shekels. They say, thank you very much. Life is good. Now you have someone pass away, a loved one pass away a year later. So you go to that same person, and now the person says, oh, no. It's not 10 shekels. It's now 15. And we don't have 10 gods. Now we have 25. So now you have to give 15 shekels for each of the 25 gods. Then you go back, someone passed away, and it keeps going up and up and up and up and up. It's a scam. That was a big scam is all it was. This has nothing to do. We have to remember this is how many years ago. So the people think that just because someone was written in scripture, it doesn't necessarily apply to what our understanding of what we do today. So we're not going around, we're not necromancy, we're not raising the dead so that we can have control of the person and have control of the future. Well, in that case, yep, that would be wrong. So we don't do that. So what we do, for anybody who's confused about paranormal investigators, I love it when, and I'm not saying you are lone wolf. Is it lone wolf or lion wolf? Lost wolf. Here's what really infuriates me. When people attack, and I'm not saying you are lost wolf, but what people will attack paranormal investigators and saying they're doing the work of the devil. They're doing the work of the devil. They're doing the work of the devil. But yet those very same people who love to criticize paranormal investigators, not one time do they ever say, maybe I will get up at 3:00 in the morning and answer a phone call to somebody whom I don't even know. And then the next day, take all my equipment that costs thousands of dollars, by the way, and then go to that person's home, which might be 10 hours away. So then you have to pack the entire team up, go to this person's home that's 10 hours away, whom you don't own. You don't owe that person anything. You don't know the person. All you know is that they are struggling with something. So you're willing to drive 10 hours away, leave your family behind to go help somebody you don't even know, to try to document what's going on in that home. You gather all the evidence, you gather everything, and then you present it to clergy. Hey, clergy, this is what's happening. Here's all the documentation. Now this is your job. You do it. I find it really insulting that there are so many people out there that love to bitch and complain about paranormal investigators and then talk bad about them. Not that you are, Lost Wolf, but that they talk bad about them and say that they're doing the work of the devil. But yet those people are not ever, you never ever see them answer the phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning. You never see those trolls running around going 10 hours away from their home, buying thousands of dollars worth of equipment, going to someone's home and not even charging a penny, not a penny for their service. They don't charge a dime. So they're out of money for sometimes hotel rooms. They're out of money for all the equipment that they have to buy. They're out of money for the gas that they, and not only that, but they have to leave their family behind for a couple of days. And yet people on the sideline who sit and attack paranormal investigators, they are never, not once do they get their butts up off that couch. And they don't do it, but they sure in the hell love to attack the people who do. Hypocrites. That's exactly what they are. They're hypocrites. They are Pharisees. And Jesus says that he vomits them out of their mouth. And that is exactly what happens. I'm so tired of people using first of all, you're using the Holiness Code, which, by the way, if you're going to use the Holiness Code, then you all have to follow all 613 laws. So no cherry picking. You can't pick here and pick here and pick here and then go to judge this group, and yet you're not following all 613 laws. So either you're under the law or you're under the old covenant. Which is it going to be? You can't be under both. We're no longer under the old covenant because there's 613 laws that you have to fulfill. So if you're going to judge a group of people based on the Holiness Code, then you got to follow all 613. Because if you're going to judge those people by the Holiness Code, then God should judge you by the very same code that you judge others. Now, are you willing to put your salvation on the line because you have not chosen to follow all 613 laws, but yet you're going to choose other group? You're going to choose a particular law in the Holiness Code to judge that group. So you should be held by the same law. You see, let me tell you what paranormal investigators do. For fun. I mean, there's a lot of people that do the paranormal investigating. Let me explain something. First of all, I hate the term ghost hunt or ghost hunter. I hate it. I don't like that term. I think it's offensive. I will never, ever want to ever be referred as a ghost hunter. I'm not hunting anything. But here, paranormal investigators that I deal with and that I've dealt with for over 20 years, these are people who are respectful, who are courteous, kind. These are individuals who have a huge heart, who want to help people who are going through extreme emotional, spiritual trauma. They don't owe you a thing. They don't owe you they don't owe you a dime. They don't even owe you a phone call. They don't even know you. But yet, if you contact me and you say, I need some help, I'm not Donald Trump. I don't have my own private plane. I can't get to New York and California and Texas. So I rely on people who have a heart of a minister, of people who want to give back and help people. So what I do is I contact paranormal investigators in that area that are respectful, that don't think everything is a demon. And then I say, I have a case. Can you please help us? In this case, we have the Society of St. Benedict. That Abbot Tommy, he owns and runs it, and then Rich Valdez with the paranormal clergy. So that's what we do. We rely on paranormal investigators to go to these people's homes for free, not asking for a penny, not asking for a dime. They go to these people's homes. They travel hours to get there. Sometimes they have to stay the night at a hotel because they're so far away. They gather all the evidence. They review all the evidence, which takes a long time. I mean, if you're there for 8 hours, you're going to have 8 hours worth of all that material to go over. And if you're a paranormal investigator, you know very well that takes a tremendous amount of time. So not only did they give their time to drive to the location, now they're giving their time to invest the location. Then they're giving their time to review all the information. And then people have the nerve to bitch about paranormal investigators and to throw the Old Testament at their faces, and they're never, ever, those people who judge the paranormal investigators are never around when you need help. They're never around, but they sure do love to give you their personal advice, their personal opinion, don't they? See, so these paranormal investigators gather all this information, and then they present it to the clergy and say, now, this is above our pay grade. There's some serious activity going on. Here's all the evidence. Thank God we have paranormal investigators who do this. Because if not, then you out there in wherever land, you may have a situation where something may be occurring in your home and you need clergy's attention. So let's just say this. Let's say we're going to use the Deuteronomy and we're going to take it literal. Fine. No more paranormal investigators. No more. Now, what are you going to do? I can't get to your home in Texas or in New York or California. I can't get there. It's too much. Can't do it. I don't charge. So unless you're going to pay for all of my expenses, you better get on your knees and thank God that there are paranormal investigators out there willing to give so much that they do. Because if they didn't, then I wouldn't be able to help you. And I know there's clergy out there that's charging an arm and a leg to come over to your home and to bless your home. I also know that there's clergy that also does blessings in your home through Skype. That's the biggest scam there is. You can't bless a home through Skype. That's so stupid. It's idiotic. It's irresponsible. And then they charge people $400 for it. Give me a break. Come on. But people are so desperate, they're willing to do anything. And then you have these parasite people who call themselves clergy and do these mumbo jumbo bullcrap stuff on Zoom or Skype and throw fairy dust at your screen, and somehow that's going to make demons go away. That is sacrilegious. It's blasphemy, and it's wrong. And it happens all the time. I've seen the clergy perform exorcisms on Zoom, charging $500 for a 20-minute little call. The power of Christ compels you. Oh, shut up. It's making a mockery of it. And it's not something you should make a mockery of. So paranormal investigators who are willing to invest so much of their own personal resource and time, something that they can never get back. They're willing to do this and go to these people's homes, and yet people have the audacity to sit there and judge and say, well, what about Old Testament? Well, what about you going to someone's home? Oh, I can't do that. Then shut your mouth. That's how I feel about that. Oh, now keep in mind, here's the deal. If you want clergy to help, folks, listen to me. I appreciate the messages. I do. But you know, some people are sending novels. I don't have time to read a novel. I just don't. And not only that, but this is what I need you to do. I need you to go to, if you need my assistance or if you need clergy's assistance with the USOCC, which we don't charge, all you got to do is go to Bishop James Long. Very simple. Bishop James Long. And then you go click on the paranormal link. If you click on that paranormal link, it's going to just scroll down and you will see the Society of St. Benedict. If you said, and it says, contact the Society of St. Benedict. You push the button, it's an email. It goes directly to our abbot Tommy, the Bishop-elect Tommy, and he will then contact you or get a team involved. Either way, we'll get someone out there to help. And that's what we do. But all assistance must go through Society of St. Benedict. Because I'm getting requests from emails. I can't keep up. It's getting to 14,889 emails. My ministry email, 14,489 emails. I can't, it's too much. So for now on, if you need assistance with clergy, that's what you have to do. You have to go to bishopjameslong.com, click on the paranormal link, and send the email. And then we'll help. Well, we don't charge. So that's how we do it. That's how we roll. So people are sending me messages on TikTok and sending me message on Facebook and Twitter, and it's just too no. So that's what folks have to do. And I think it's simple. It's a simple process, and because I can't go through all of them, I just can't. Yeah, they're very sensitive and emails, and so I tell people this all the time, and no sooner than I tell people that, they turn right around and send me a message on my email, like, you know what, if you can't follow instructions, I'm sorry, I can't help you, because I think that's not asking much at all. If we're going to give our time for free, then you at least have to follow what we're asking you to do. Because if you can't follow simple instructions like that, then you're not going to follow simple instructions for the aftercare. Because there is aftercare that comes with certainly demonic issues and demonic possession. And that's how we feel. That's how I feel. Gargoyles. Gargoyles is interesting. There's a lot of people who like gargoyles. I've never really been, I don't know. I've never really been fascinated by them. Some people love them. This is by Jeff Wells. And I thought I'd pass this on to you guys because it is pretty interesting. There's 10 fanciful facts about gargoyles. Okay. It says gargoyles conjure images of hideous, brooding creatures perched high above the cities and villages of the world. The most terrifying ones look as though they might break from their stone moorings and take flight. But these decorative demons are full of surprises. So let's learn a little bit more about gargoyles. Well, first, the author says gargoyles are there for a reason. When gargoyles began appearing on churches throughout Europe in the 13th century, they served as a decorative water spout, engineered to preserve stone walls by diverting the flow of rainwater outward from rooftops. And this function, technically speaking, distinguishes gargoyles from purely decorative stone ornaments like grotesque and other things, although these days the term encompasses all sorts of creature carvings. Next, the name comes from a dragon slaying legend. The word gargoyle, it's actually derived from a French word. It means a throat, and it would appear to take its inspiration from the sculpture's water siphoning gullets. But in fact, the name comes from the French legend of La Gargoyle, or whatever, a fearsome dragon that terrorized the inhabitants of the city of Rouen. According to the story, the dragon swallowed up ships and flooded the town until the 7th century, when Saint Romain, the bishop of Rouen, vanquished the beast. Romanus tamed the dragon by making the sign of the cross, then led it into town where it was burned at the stake. The creature's head, however, wouldn't burn, so the townspeople cut it off and affixed it to the church. Anyway, the head became a symbol against evil and warning to other dragons. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Gargoyles were meant to inspire fear in churchgoers. Placing gargoyles on a church's exterior reinforced the idea that evil dwelled outside the church, while salvation could be found within. How better to enforce church attendance and docility than by providing a daily reminder of the horrors to come, writes Gary Varner in his book. That's a true statement. Also, church leaders hoped gargoyles would also attract pagans. Churches would also model gargoyles after the creatures worshipped by pagan tribes, thinking this would make their houses of worship appear more welcoming to them. It was a bit of a clever marketing that seemed to work, according to scholar Darlene True Christ. Churches grew in number, she says, and influence as the pagan belief system and many of its images were absorbed into Christianity. See, the things you learn, isn't it? Pretty cool stuff, huh? Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Although the name gargoyle is just a few centuries old, the practice of crafting decorative animal-themed drain spouts reached back several millennia. People in ancient Egypt and Greece and Rome designed spouts in shapes of lions. And so, interesting. Notre Dame's famous gargoyles are fairly recent creations. So the world's most famous gargoyles and the ones that most influenced the popular wings and horns images of the creatures are found in Paris's Notre Dame Cathedral. Though the Gothic cathedrals were constructed in the 12th and 13th centuries, their gargoyles were part of the extensive restoration project in the mid-1800s. Okay, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. The 19th century gargoyles have little in common with their medieval little friends, scholars contend, and were intended to represent the time period rather than mimic it. Okay. Also, Pittsburgh is home to a surprising number of gargoyles. In the 19th century, Steel City embraced the Gothic architecture revival that swept across America. Many of its Gothic churches, government buildings, and other edifices remain, along with other iconic gargoyles. The city structures features more than 20 authentic gargoyles and hundreds of grotesque creatures, and many of them are featured in the city's downtown dragons. It's been a long time. I drove through Pittsburgh once, but I never really paid attention to the gargoyles. And some gargoyles, allegedly according to the author, resemble actual people rather than mythological creatures. I don't know about this one, but Cologne Cathedral in Germany features a gargoyle fashioned after the church's longest serving council member, while the Lyon Cathedral in French boasts a gargoyle modeled after the building's renovation construction manager. So, I mean, could you imagine someone making a gargoyle and say, yep, I see the resemblance. It looks good. It looks good. You lost some weight there, buddy. Looks, I mean, I don't know if I don't know. Oh, really? Nancy says her elementary school had gargoyle statues in the roof. Wow. That's pretty cool. Of course, so we also know French Cathedral swapped its gargoyles for gremlins. I don't know why that, but anyway, in the early 90s, sculptor Jean-Louis Boistel decided to replace the building's crumbling gargoyles with a few pop culture icons. And this included Gizmo and a gremlin from the movie Gremlins. Well, that's interesting. There's a There's a Darth Vader gargoyle in Washington, D.C. Gargoyles remind me of Ghostbusters. Yes. Wait a minute. I'm with Darth Vader gargoyle in Washington. I got to look this up and see. Let's see what this is. Yeah, well, it is. I never know. That is the craziest thing. It really is. It's a Darth Vader gargoyle. Well, what in the world? You'll have to Google that, everybody. It's actually kind of funny. There's a Darth Vader gargoyle. So, yeah, that's interesting. In the 80s, the Washington National Cathedral held a contest for kids to design its newest gargoyle. Coming on the heels of the Star Wars trilogy, someone proposed a Darth Vader gargoyle. In the cathedral, which had already installed some of the off-of-the-wall gargoyles and grotesque, during its extensive restoration work, named 13-year-old Christopher Rader's design as one of its winners. And in 1986, put Darth Vader high up on the cathedral's dark side north wall. That can be difficult to spot, but the cathedral offers this there's a handy guide you can watch. But just that is so cool. So yeah, type in Darth Vader gargoyle, Washington, D.C. And there it is. It's like, wow, to see the things you learn on a Friday night. It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And thank you very much, by the way, for those of you who are liking the video. I appreciate that very much. Let me ask you guys this question. If you could time travel, would you do it? I'm curious. Yeah, it brings a new meaning to I am your father. True. You think Yoda would be for Vader, yeah. But would you, if you could time travel, how many of you would be willing to say, yep, I want to try? Okay, so there's one person says no, because it could affect the future. So there's a lot of people saying yes, 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 yes. So most people I'm looking saying yes. Well, this is really interesting. I don't know. I don't know how much. Good. We have a 1 minute TikTok. So the question is if you could time travel, would you do it? Time travel in the past or the future? Well, listen to this. I don't know about what do you guys think about this? I don't know. I don't know about this one. I'm kind of curious. Doesn't say the author of this, but Dr. Ronald Mallett, Mallett, has dedicated his career to answering this question. And he believes that building a working time machine will be possible within the next 10 years. I don't know about this. So his name is Dr. Ronald Mallett, Mallett. Dr. Mallett was a theoretical physicist based out on 100% voted yes on TikTok. Wow. So he was a theoretical physicist based out on University of Connecticut before retiring last year. And he specializes in theoretical general relativity and relativistic quantum mechanics. And his primary research relates to the possibility of developing time travel using the gravitational properties of light produced by a device called a ring laser. So you can go on Google and just type in Dr. Mallett's ring laser talk. It's really interesting. It's very, very interesting. So he says, before embarking on his journey to develop a time machine, Dr. Mallett needed to establish whether time travel was possible, and not just the stuff of science fiction. Before we delve into the intricacies of time travels, it's important to understand the basics of quantum mechanics. So to get back to the rules which govern the time travel, we need to travel back to 1905, when Albert Einstein published his special theory of relativity, which for the first time showed that time is not a constant and that it is intrinsically linked to space. And he calculated that it could be manipulated. So Einstein theorized that time is affected by speed. The faster an object moves, the more time slows down for that object. So the 1971, a famous experiment known as the Keating experiment, proved this principle. Joseph Hafele and Richard Keating placed 4 atomic clocks on passenger jets and flew them around the world. And they also left a set of identical clocks at the United States Naval Observatory. And when the clocks landed, they were compared to those on the ground. And as special relativity predicts, the clocks from the plane were slow. So the planes flew at the speed of sound, which may seem pretty fast, but this only resulted in a difference of a tiny fraction, like a nanosecond. But remember, the faster an object moves, the more time slows down for that object. So it means that if you flew around the world several times at close to the speed of light, the journey may only take a few seconds for you, but when you land on Earth, years could have passed by. So technically, then you traveled into the future, even though it only took you a few minutes. So we know that time travel is possible, but only in the future. No matter how fast you travel, you can't go into the past. The concept of moving backwards through time is fraught with difficulties. So that they say we simply cannot do it. But it is a possibility, they say, that using the general theory of relativity, that you can in fact go into the future. So while you go past the speed of light several times around the Earth, and it may only be a few hours or whatever for you, it could be 20 years later on Earth. That's crazy. I don't know. I don't think I would do that, only because obviously if you did that, there is, as far as the theory going back in time, no. But as far as the future, I don't know if I would like that. Interstellar, I believe Interstellar was similar to that, wasn't it? It's been a long time since I watched that movie, Interstellar. But I believe that was the concept of Interstellar, that they would be a long ways from home, and they would travel very quickly, and they would age as a normal rate, but the people on Earth would age very quickly or whatever. So I don't know. Yeah, the Philadelphia experiment's interesting. I wouldn't want to either, because if you were able to do this, theoretically, if you're able to do this, and you come back to Earth, and it's 20 years later, but only a few hours for you, then many of the people that you love could have already passed on. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. So I wouldn't. I don't think I would like that. I don't think so. No, because I'm not really. I wouldn't be a fan of it. I wouldn't do it. This is by Mel Buttigieg. The Shining inspired hotel guests reveal eerie paranormal encounters. So if you thought that the Stephen King and Stanley Kubrick's horror classic The Shining was just a story, think again. Recent images inside the Colorado hotel, which inspired the novel movie that was based on, show a ghost-like figure standing on top of the staircase. And since the 1970s, many paranormal encounters have been reported at the Stanley Hotel, which opened in 1909. And it has been featured as one of the most America's most haunted hotels, with eerie stories and sightings from visitors and staff. Stephen King was a guest for just one night, which was enough to inspire his chilling best-selling novel about the haunted Overlook Hotel, which inspired one of the most popular horror movies of all time. Now, there was a public relations director of the Children's Museum of Houston was visiting the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, took some photos inside the historic hotel recently. And it wasn't until the next day when he was looking at his pictures that he noticed a ghostly figure at the top of the lobby's grand staircase. He says, when I took it, I didn't notice anything, he said. And he shared the image to his Facebook page saying, by golly, I think I may have captured a ghost. And he told the Daily Mail that he fell ill with a mysterious illness after dinner at the hotel shortly after snapping the photo. He says, when I took the picture, I didn't notice anything, and overnight I felt strangely sick and queasy and had stomach issues. The thing is, I rarely get sick, he says. It wasn't until the next morning that I saw the figure in my picture. Now, other guests have reported hearing the creepy twins featured in the 1980 horror classic The Shining as they giggle and run down the fourth floor of the hotel, especially near room 418. Now, I've never been there. So if you've ever been to this hotel, let me know if you've experienced anything. The hotel's founder, Oscar Stanley, and his wife, Flora, have also been spotted walking through the lobby or heard playing piano in the music room. It's also rumored that a ghost of the housekeeper who passed away on the grounds is seen in room 217. But here's what's interesting about this. This was not filmed. A lot of people don't know that. That was not filmed in the Stanley. I have not. No, is that any good? Of the Canterbury Inn? Where's that? Where is the Canterbury Inn? Yeah, I have not. Yeah, it actually took place at St. Mary Lake and its Wild Goose Island in Glacier National Park, Montana, as I believe, for the actual filming. And it's a beautiful, absolute gorgeous place. It's the Overlook Hotel. It's a central and ominous setting of the film, and that's basically where it was. It's exteriors of the hotel were based on the Timberline Lodge in Oregon. Now, this is interesting. So the Timberline Lodge in Oregon and the interiors were predominantly shot on stages at the Elstree Studios in England. So that's it wasn't actually filmed at the in the one hotel. Oh gosh, yeah. I did a presentation one time on haunted locations, and maybe we can do that again with each state, because I did the presentation several times actually on that. So I went through each state and what were the best haunted locations for each state, and maybe I'll do that again. But the Overlook Hotel is supposed to be pretty amazing. Okay, here is the article that I want to present to you guys as well on California. Cool. For those of you who like scary movies. Oh, good. Listen to this. This is by Alexandra Ramos. The best Blumhouse horror movies and how to watch them. Well, Alexandra Ramos. Well, let's talk about this. Says, to me, when it comes to some of the best horror movies out there, there has been one production company that stands above the rest. And that, my friends, is Blumhouse Productions of Mexico. From some of the most recent horror films back to those in the 2000s, this company has been behind a lot of them. And like Paranormal Activity, Sinister, The Purge, and etc. So Paranormal Activity 2009, the iconic found footage horror film, follows a young couple who are haunted by supernatural presence in their home, all captured through found footage and security cameras. Paranormal Activity is an iconic horror movie for its use of found footage. And says, I think it made found footage movies more popular than ever before. It created horror scenes. Of course, now there's so many Paranormal Activity. As a matter of fact, I think they're doing another one. The other one is The Purge. You know, The Purge was a really interesting movie. It really was. I mean, the concept of The Purge, what's scary about it is you kind of think, how far-fetched is that? Is that really possible that it could ever occur? For those of you who don't know, The Purge is in a newly reformed America, The Purge tells a story of one night in the country where all crime is allowed, everything, just for one night. A family that's trying to survive the night ends up helping a stranger, and in turn brings a whole new heck of a problem issues with their lives. So The Purge, it's an interesting movie. The next movie that this author says you need to watch is Split. Split, 2017. M. Night Shyamalan, he's a master of his craft, and while he did have a bit of a career dip, he's back with some awesome films as of late, including Split. It follows a man who has several different personalities and the girls that are captured by him in the struggle for survival. Split is genuinely a great time, featuring awesome performances from the actors and actresses. So, Split, you can watch that on Netflix, Google Play, and Hulu. There's a movie called Happy Death Day. I've not seen that. 2017, I don't know. Happy Death Day, a hilarious horror comedy, follows a young woman who has to relive the same day as she was unalived over and over again. And with each passing, she tries to piece together clues about who does this to her. I have not seen that. Doesn't sound like a good movie anyway. But anyway, you can get that on Amazon. Sinister. Sinister 2012. Ethan Hawke. I think Ethan Hawke is an amazing actor. It tells the story of a writer and his family who move into a home that is haunted by supernatural presence, but he later discovers that it was the spot where these terrible things took place decades ago. And this author says Sinister is one of those movies you got to watch. And you can watch that on Max and Amazon. Five Nights at Freddy's. I have no idea what that is. Yeah, the movie Stigmata. Here's the problem with the movie Stigmata. There's a lot. Stigmata is not seen as a curse. There has never been a case of a true stigmata case where the individual who had the stigmata, they never ever saw it as a curse. Never. It's more of people who are very pious, very devout in their faith and devoted to God. So they never saw that as a curse. So the movie itself, Stigmata, theologically speaking, is just completely incorrect. Five Nights at Freddy's in 2023, based on a video game of the same name. I have no idea. Five Nights at Freddy's follows a security guard who discovers the animatronics at a pizza parlor that he is working at come to life at night. But there's more to these possessed creatures that meets the eye. Well, that sounds like was it a cheesy movie? Amazon Prime, you can watch that. Insidious. In 2011, became another horror franchise movie. In this iconic horror film, a mother and father are trying to seek help when their son falls into a coma. Later learns it's because of a strange demon in their home, and now they must prevent evil spirits from trapping their son in a different world. Okay. Amazon, The Hunt, 2020. It says, when I tell you The Hunt surprised me with how good it was, the author says, I mean it. The Hunt is an action horror movie that tells a story of a group of elites who kidnap working class people in order to hunt them down. But the prey becomes the predator as they try to stay alive. So this person says, you got to watch it. I haven't seen it. Oh, you like it? Okay. Can't say that. Cam 2018. See, I can't watch movies that where the whole movie, it looks like someone has a camera, because it looks like the person is having a seizure. It drives me crazy. When I watch a movie, I don't want the camera doing this nonsense. Focus on, because you don't have to, because it ruins the whole entire movie. It ruins everything. So I don't know about you guys, but I hate when they move those cameras around. It was really popular, I don't know, less than 10 years ago or so. They would just not, yeah, Blair Witch. It just is so irritating to me. It says, ever wonder how a webcam can control your life? That's what Cam aims to answer, as it follows a young woman who performs crazy acts on webcam. But one day she finds that her identity has been stolen because an exact clone of herself has replaced her on camera. The Invisible Man 2020 is based on the novel of the same name and follows the story of a young woman who believes she is being stalked by her manipulative and a terrible ex-boyfriend, who has somehow turned himself invisible while also taking out those close to her. Okay. The Passenger. And I like The Passenger. That was, wait a minute. This is The Passenger 2023. I'm thinking The Passengers. The Passenger 2023 tells a story of a normal everyday man who is confronted with facing his fear when his coworker suddenly snaps, going on a terrible thing, doing terrible things, everything that crosses him while they travel on a road together. I have not seen that. So the Passenger, MGM and Amazon. Now this movie, fantastic. Get Out, 2017. That is a really, really, really phenomenal movie. Good. Yeah, what I would suggest that you do. So it says, trying to reach you via Facebook. I recently turned away from witchcraft and found my way to God. Something demonic won't leave me home. Do you know anything? Yeah. You can do Epiphany of the Doors, Blessing of the Doors, Chalking of the Doors. Either, they're all interchangeable, but go on Google, type in Blessing of the Doors. And you can go to any type of Catholic church and get holy water, and you can do that. And I would encourage you to do that. I would also encourage you to play Gregorian chant. Open your blinds, your shades, put some light in your home, and you can bless your own home. And it's called the Epiphany of the Doors, Blessing of the Doors, Chalking of the Doors, all the same. And you can Google that, and there's plenty. There's plenty of prayers out there, callings upon, of course, God, the Our Father, Hail Mary, St. Michael prayer, and just, take your space back. That's what you do. But Get Out in 2017 is fantastic. That's great. There's a movie called Us, 2019 as well. Well, thank you very much there, Dolly. And Halloween 2018. We know that one. Freaky 2020. Okay. And I'm trying to go fast. The Black Phone. Now, I did see that with Ethan Hawke. That was just crazy. If you have not seen that movie, that's a really intense movie. It's called The Black Phone 2022. Megan, Megan 2020, that's a really interesting movie. It really does make you think about artificial intelligence with Megan. So if you've not seen Megan 2020, there were some things that was like, oh, that's pretty bad. But there were some really interesting scenes in there that I thought that's pretty interesting. So yeah, that was just basically the Blumhouse movies. There's plenty of other movies out there you can watch, but I have not seen. I don't like the Pope's Exorcist. The ending was just completely stupid. It was just it ruined it. They ruined the movie. It was good up until it showed the infestation. Good. It showed oppression. Good. But then the end, they just destroyed it. They destroyed. Matter of fact, I got up and left the theater. I was like, I'm not. I can't waste my time. I've already lost 3 brain cells. I can't do this anymore. So I was really, really just. It was a shame because they could have had a really fantastic movie, but they just ruined the end. They just ruined it. But Nefarious is fantastic. If you really want to see what it's like as far as how the demonic manipulates, Nefarious is very good, and I would encourage. And The Rite is also very good. But yeah, the Pope's Exorcist, I was really disappointed. For those of you who are on Spreaker, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys. Remember, folks, we have night prayer. We have night prayer coming up at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So night prayer is at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We play music around 9:45, and we have our night prayer. So we'd love for you to join us. Just go to bishopjameslong.com. Scroll all the way down to where it says night prayer. Click it. Or go to usocc.org. Scroll all the way down. You see where it says right there. Click it. And it takes you right there. It's strictly audio. Now, I will be here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard for our open mic night show. I don't know if Miss Wilma will be here. We'll have to see. Probably not. But nonetheless, I'll be here saying howdy to everybody. And hopefully you've learned a little something with our zombies. But I've got a lot more articles that I'm going to cover later on, of course, tomorrow. Remember, friends, I tell you all the time, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. You're priceless, and don't let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, KGRADB Radio. God bless. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.